The following is a Podcast One Minnesota production.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
If it's made in Minnesota, who's making it and how?
Yeah, you got that right.
It's the Makers of Minnesota, focusing on the products and services uniquely made in Minnesota, and conversations with the makers, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Minnesota about how they conceived of their products and how they brought them to market. With Stephanie Hansen, it's the Makers of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen, and you're listening to The Makers of Minnesota, and we are on episode number 87. If you know of someone in the Twin Cities or the state of Minnesota that's making something cool, let us know. We love to talk to people, entrepreneurs doing cool things, whether it's a service, whether it's an app or an actual product or food products. I always love. Make sure that you let us know what you're doing, and we will consider featuring you on the program. Today, we have the folks from Local Crate. We have Mike Stahlbaum and Frank Jackman. And Frank, I was saying, I think you and I had met about 2.5 years ago on my radio show, Weekly Dish, when the whole idea of a prepared meal kit first came about. Tell me about how you guys met and how you decided to create Local Crate.
Yeah, so Mike and I both worked at the Schwan Food Company together, and Mike was a corporate chef and I was a marketing manager, and we were kind of looking for what our next step was.
Yep.
So then that's when meal kits came along. We Blue Apron and Plated were launched at that time. We thought it was an interesting idea.
Was Blue Apron like the first?
HelloFresh was actually overseas, and there was actually a small company, I can't remember their name, but they're from Sweden, I believe, that launched the meal kit concept.
It's a very Swedish name.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't be able to pronounce it.
Yeah.
pretty close
like
to that.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So HelloFresh is actually a worldwide company, if you will, that is now here in the United States too.
Yep. All right. So you had seen this concept, and you're a marketing guy. Tell me about like the first time you sat down over a beer and thought, "Oh, we can do this better." What was it that you thought you could do?
Yeah, definitely. So the models at its core are different. Is that the national players centralize their models and take fresh food to one location and then ship it out from there. Our idea was, well, we could now decentralize, is that we could source local food as much as possible in each region and then ship it out directly back to that region. So less shipping, less packaging, fresher product. And then that gave us the side of, well, what else can we do? Well, then you could tap into the chefs, if you will, or the restaurants and create an experience.
Did that idea of tapping into chefs, Mike, I'll ask you since you were the corporate chef, once you started thinking about local, did the chef piece come naturally with that?
It was definitely something that we put together and thought, man, this would be really awesome to incorporate into the program, but it was not easy for us to get chefs on board at first.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we actually used a couple local people that were really instrumental in getting some of our initial chefs on board. Since then, it's been a lot easier, and we've had a lot of support because we work with them and they work with us, and we're kind of co-promoting each other's products.
And so is it hard? Like I recently cooked one of your meals actually for another segment that I'm working on.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks. I cooked Gavin Kaysen's chicken legs with pomegranate juice that we braised. And
shout out to Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin's pretty great. He actually, I Instagram storied it and he was like, "How you doing?"
That's awesome.
So tell me about why was it hard to get the chefs? Because they're just not used to cooking in a home environment or breaking down their ingredients in that way? Or they just were like, who are these people? What is this?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. It was a little foreign to them, and they were like, I'm super busy. What do you guys want?
Yeah,
what are you doing? Yeah. But they've been very excited about it. They really like doing the videos and the interviews with us, and they really like talking about their story and their local story, because a lot of these chefs are already purchasing local ingredients because it's important to their customer. They're already setting the local trends that we're looking for.
How do you take a Gavin Kaysen recipe and make it so that I can cook it in my home? Is he doing that, or are you giving him coaching as the corporate chef about like, hey, this ingredient's maybe a little too weird?
Yeah, it's a collaboration for sure. You know, he tells us what he wants to use and lays out the basic steps, and then we kind of mold it into something a home consumer.
Do you have to dumb it down? I mean, I would think.
Not necessarily dumb it down, but we've worked with our home consumers now for 2 years, so we kind of know what works for the normal home consumer.
Do you have a home consumer test group?
Yes and no, right? We're still very
Original
small
customers.
original customers. But we do come out with 12 new recipes every week, so we can't test every single one.
That's so many.
Yes, but we have a lot of learnings throughout the time.
So if you're coming out with 12 recipes every week, at this point you have like over 200 recipes, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't even know the number off the top of my head, but yeah.
Is that important to this business to have variety?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we believe variety is a big driver of this, is that consumers get to experience something new every week, or sometimes get to we do put some new ones or some old ones as customer favorites back that they could then reorder, but it's a new experience for them.
And we also have to focus heavily on seasonality. So we have to recreate for each season as the seasons come up.
That makes sense because you're doing local food.
Yeah. And as we find more vendors, like new farmers that are doing cool new stuff, we'll try to pull in their cool new products.
I was going to ask you about that because another person that I've worked with is Salad Girl. And I think at one point, was it Urban Roots maybe that you guys used their salad and she's partnered with them. So when you have a producer that has like special greens or chickens or anything, does the meal get then driven around that too as much as the chef experience?
Both.
Yeah. And I mean, on my side, we're definitely looking at, all right, here are all of our vendors and this is what they're producing for this coming summer. You know, what ingredients are we going to pull and use heavily, and like what does that menu look like? And we are building out, 3 to 4 months at a time.
So outside of the national distribution piece and you're using local ingredients, are there other differences between you as a local company, local crate, and like a HelloFresh or a Blue Apron?
Yeah, so we ship same day, so it's a fresher product.
Okay.
Compared to 2 to 3 days of the national players, which allows us to use 80% less packaging. So that's a huge piece because you're receiving these boxes from Blue Apron or HelloFresh every week that has around 17 pounds of packaging.
I was going to ask you about that, and I'm glad you brought it up because I have just cooked 6 different prepared meals that have come to me in different forms, and it got to me, the packaging. I didn't like that everything was so heavily packaged. I just felt like, wow. And the local ones that I got, I did notice like there was just an onion and that onion wasn't in a hermetically sealed bag. Yeah. I liked that. It made it feel like I wasn't, didn't
come from New York.
Yeah, and just like polluting the environment Texas. So much, really. And I'm not, I try to do my part, but I'm not super crazy. Mm-hmm. But it was bugging me, so I thought, wow, if you're more sensitive than I am, this is going to bug you.
Yeah, and then we really try to tell the story of the farmers or the chefs, too, so that it really connects you back to the food, and you know where that food's coming from, and you're able to have an emotional attachment to that a little bit deeper.
So you go online, and do most people, like, how do they order? Like, what is the traditional customer ordering? How often are they ordering?
Yeah, so right now you can go online until Thursday night at 9 p.m., and then the ordering shuts off. But up until that time, you could order whenever you would like, change your order, pause, skip, or cancel, and then that order gets delivered on that following Monday.
And so are most people ordering like one meal a week? Do you have like some high P ones that are like every day?
Yeah, it depends. We have some families, we have some individuals, but you could order the minimum is 2 meals at 2 servings each, and then you could order as much as you would like. And that's another thing that's different than the national players benefit. Is that our minimum's only 2 compared to 3.
Okay. Yeah, because
we don't have to ship it as far.
Yeah, exactly. How much are your meals averaging, and is price important to your consumer?
I mean, price is always important, right? I think when it comes to local food and that experience side, there's a little bit more leeway there.
Yeah.
But within our model, we're able to provide a quality product at a similar price of the national players because, again, we're not spending all that money on packaging or shipping, right? Yep. So our product after 3 meals is $12 a serving. Before that is $13.50.
Do you find that your customer has also ordered from like, I'm just going to use Blue Apron and HelloFresh as the opposite, sorry. Have they also ordered from them so they understand the differences for you, or how much time do you have to spend educating them on what that difference is?
Yeah, that was the nice part. As we started, there was There was some education on our part that had to go into it, but a lot of our customers come from the national competitors, and they've already been educated, and they find all of the benefits that we offer. So it's really nice that they're educating, and then we're stealing their customers.
We have the benefit of having you in Minnesota. So when we say local crate, it means like you're right in our backyard. But is local crate a concept that you could take to like a Chicago market or a California market and do the same thing with your model?
Yeah, definitely. That's our idea at the end of the day is we want to become the first nationally local food company in America.
Which
right?
is an oxymoron, but
Yes.
totally doable, you would think.
Right. It's decentralizing the food system. We believe with technology, transportation, and just efficiencies overall, and local food systems growing in every major city, that we can now, and it is efficient, and it is a profitable model for you to move forward with, and it helps support that local economy. So that's something we're very excited to explore here very shortly.
Okay, so some brass tacks questions for you gentlemen. Before you got to your first year in business, about how much money do you think you invested in your startup? And was it all your money, or was it on credit cards, or how did you get going?
Yeah, friends, family, and then a Kickstarter.
Oh, so you did a Kickstarter, and
yeah,
that
we
may
did
be
a-
why we talked to you originally. So
Yeah.
I just actually listened to Carla Hall, who did a Kickstarter for her restaurant, talking about how it was an incredible disaster for her, and it was very eye-opening. Was your Kickstarter experience good for you?
That's a great way to explain it, right? A great mentor of ours from the beginning, Birchwood Cafe, and sitting down with her, and she did a very successful Kickstarter, right? 100,000 plus. She said it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, and that's exactly what it was. Best way she explained it was, I can't even remember. Well, would you rather have a kid or do another Kickstarter? She said, I'd rather have a kid, right?
Wow.
So that was very interesting. But yes, the experience was amazing, but also very, very low.
Why is it so taxing and so low? Why do people have such bad experiences?
I think it could be, you put yourself out there for everyone to judge before you launch your product, before they can even experience it, right? And it's kind of is all our hard work for something here or not, right? So, and you get a lot of support right away, and then about 2 weeks in, it just
Drops
dies.
off.
And then the last week, it just kicks right back up, and then you hit it,
Last
hopefully.
day.
Last day.
Just
But we actually had $1,000 from Johnny Walker, the whiskey company. Gave us $1,000 randomly for no reason, just didn't expect anything in return.
they said that they liked what we were doing. They thought that it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so you'll get
Yeah.
stuff like that, or like
Yeah.
we had a doctor,
From Virginia.
give us like $500, stuff like that.
And that was the coolest thing and the hardest thing was that we had a lot of support locally, which was really nice.
Yep.
And then we had we're a local product. We're not a national product, so we didn't have a national outreach.
Right.
So the people that did support us that were from other states, it was really cool that they were doing that, but there were only a few of those. It was only a handful. So we really got a lot of support from Minnesota, which was awesome.
And then was there like the crush of I have to deliver these gifts now, and like what the levels were? And
Yeah, that's something that we didn't realize from the very beginning, right? We wanted to give everybody as much as we possibly could and as many options and experiences. Then you have to fulfill all of it.
yeah, and a
right?
lot of people overgive.
Yeah, plus you have to start running your business. You have to launch, right? So that was another taxing moment too. I was trying to get that all figured out and done. I think kind of a fun story here is that our first launch date was Kickstarter plus launching our business. We had to fulfill both of them. Mike and I were up 36 hours straight in the kitchen. And then we still missed that day of delivery, and then we wound up having to deliver that product the next day. So it was talk about taxing.
Yeah.
That was 36 hours
And
straight.
that's not an overestimation. It was
there were some tears
36
there.
hours straight. Yeah, definitely tears.
Yeah.
That's the interesting stories though about starting a business, right?
We were delivering the product ourselves for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Mike, at one point, it was negative 22 degrees, and his heat was out in his car, and he wore a snowsuit and delivered the product, right?
Wow.
A lot of crazy stories like that.
I like to hear these stories. So you went from that to having what I would say for a local food company has just been an amazing turnaround in that you went out and you got some venture capital money and you guys did extremely well. Do you want to talk about that experience?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, fortunately enough, we were able to raise a pre-seed round previously with some great angel investors. Those angel investors really helped us and helped put that strategy together of what we could really do with this business.
So to start there, how did you know how to put that together? Did you work with a consultant? Did a business person put it together?
We went to Minnesota Cup.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Okay.
Minnesota Cup helped greatly, especially from a networking standpoint.
Yep.
We then met an individual named Brett Brohl, who is now the managing director of the Techstars program at Cargill.
Yes.
So on the food side, so very deeply ingrained in the food world now.
Yes.
But he has been a great mentor for us. And then another individual by David Finch and Kathy Rowland, different people like that from Minnesota Cup.
Yep.
From there, we went to the Techstars Land O'Lakes program, which was a beta program, but really helped redefine that and helped us look at what funding can look like and where we can go. And then, fortunately enough, we were able to get them into the Techstars Target retail program, which was huge.
Yes.
You get funding with that. And, there's 2,000 people that applied for that around the world, and 10 got in, 2 from India, 1 from Belgium, and then the rest from the United States. That meant your product was available for people to purchase in Target. That meant we had an opportunity to work with Target. So
it was just the opportunity.
It's getting in. They were providing the opportunity to get in front of the right people and see what you can make of it.
Wow. And okay.
But Techstars still helps mold your business so you're ready to launch.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, but Target's there available. So we actually developed our product with Target's great, amazing team, not in partnership, but help, right?
Yeah.
And
did you already have a product at that point?
Not a retail product.
We had a direct-to-consumer product.
Direct-to-consumer
and
product.
tell me how that's different.
Yeah.
Different packaging. It's a 2-serving meal in a retail-style box, very colorful, and it's got the recipe card on the inside of the sleeve, and it's just really nicely placed
so you
on the
can
shelf.
just pick that up on the shelf instead of having to go online and order and make choices. It's just like, today we have these 3 boxes and these are our 3 recipes.
Yep.
Got it.
So 5 recipes on shelf that
Okay.
you're able to go and pick up whenever you would like. So we developed that in about 8 weeks from concept to shelf. That was a roller coaster, a lot of fun. We tested it with Target and it went well. Hopefully some more great news to come on that. But we did get it into the Wedge and Linden Hills, which have been some great partners for us to truly understand the retail model.
Yeah.
And we're going to be launching some new meals with them.
Yeah, Chef Yia Vang, we're going to do a char siu taco with him. And on the box, there's a link that you can go to watch him cook it with an interview and like step-by-step instructions.
Neat.
And also Tim McKee, which also really excited about, is doing like a Spanish-style skewer. And same thing, video and instructions that the customer can go and watch. And
who makes the decision? I'm sorry, I'm sort of all over the place. I was just going to say, like, who makes the decision whether something's easy or hard? Because your recipes are labeled.
Yeah. It's hard. I guess it is kind of hard for somebody who is confident in what they're doing to label easy, medium, or hard. But I always go with how technical it is, how long it takes, and then how many, like, I know this seems weird, but how many pots and pans?
No, that's not weird at all.
So if it's, kind of a lot of pots and pans and it takes a long time and maybe it's a chef recipe that is technically harder.
Yeah.
It's going to get a hard, or a medium at least.
Yeah, Gavin's recipe was a medium. And I think I'm a fairly proficient home chef. I thought it was harder than it looked.
Okay,
and I hung with it, but that was part of the story that I did, and I actually saved it, so I'll send it to you. It's like, okay, this is medium, but I'm like, every time I baste, there's so much smoke in my kitchen, I'm about to start off the fire alarm. So just funny.
That's great.
So you work with Target, you get these boxes ready to go. So you went out and you got funding, and you got a lot of funding. Didn't you get like $1.8 million?
1.4.
Okay, sorry. Splitting hairs there.
Yes.
Were you, just tell me what that felt like. Like, how
Another
did you
roller
know
coaster.
right away? Is it like watching a ticker come in? Like, does somebody call you and say, well,
No.
boys, we got $1.4 million, and you're
I
just
wish.
like, ah.
I mean, you have to go out there and convince people of your vision of your product and what you could do with it, right? We're a meal kit today, but what can we be in the future? What are they truly invested in? So that's what we went out with. And, it's more than dollars. This is expertise that we're bringing on board. These are people that have expertise in the space and can really help us to that next level and take Local Crate to the next level.
And is the next level being able to go national with these local distribution models?
Yes, open it up into larger regions in the United States. Yes.
You hired a new CMO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Erin Newkirk, who I love her because I'm on a advisory board with her, but she also, I was in the printing business, and she had this company called Red Stamp that was really innovative and really a tech-driven way to produce printed cards that was very personalized and used digital variable data. And that was sort of our expertise at our company. And I've just always been a fan of hers. So I thought that was a good get.
Yes. She,
We do too.
Yes. Coming from General Mills and then having her own startup and understanding that culture, and then moving on the larger level with Bright Health and doing fundraising there, which was huge. But Mike and I sat down with her the first time, and we hadn't felt better talking about our business with any other individual for probably the past 6 months.
Oh.
She saw exactly our vision and what we wanted to do with the company. So it was a great fit. We're very excited to have her on board.
Can I ask you some brass tacks questions about marketing? Because a lot of people have good products, but they can't get them to market. You have a marketing background. How do you market this? Is it search engine optimization? Is it social media? How do people get the Local Crate bug?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, it's the connections that we develop, right? We have what we call as our recipe for success is the makers of the farmers and telling that story with the chef, and then our hunger relief efforts. How do we pull all three of those together to tell the local story, not just the food, right? That's what we're trying to do and make that connection, right? So then once you do that, we're able to craft a story off of that. With us, it's photos or videos. Videos are very big for us. Videos can be spendy unless you find the right people and great people that are willing to help you out and create these videos for social, right? From there, we put them on social, and then we do Facebook, Instagram has been huge for us.
Do you hire someone to do that, or did you do those yourselves?
We did that ourselves from the very beginning. Now, with Erin on board, we're looking at different solutions, right? Yeah. And then it's the partners that we work with. They then blast out that information too. How
much do you think, like for a local person, it would be to produce a decent Facebook video for an ad?
At the very beginning, we did it with our phones, right? Yeah. We took our recipe photos with Mike's iPhone 6, I think.
4 at the time.
4, maybe,
when we first started.
And even for local companies and small businesses, I think a lot of consumers like that grittiness to it.
I was going to ask you if you think it's better to have on your phone and do something in the video space than to do nothing.
Yes, get people interested, see if there is interest there, right? We don't want, even today, we don't want our videos to be overproduced.
Yeah,
we still want it to feel, we don't want to feel like a corporation, right? We want to feel gritty and like someone's actually doing this work.
That's funny because I think that appeals to me as a consumer. But as a producer of content myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is so crappy. I don't know. And then I'll put some crappy thing out there and people are like, oh my God, that was great. I love that when you did this. And you're I could tell that you bite your fingernails. Great.
So to that point, we actually had our culinary manager, Danny, one day just took her phone and shot an interview video with, I can't remember who the maker was. But
Dumpling and
I think Dumpling and Strain.
Oh, I love that company. Yeah.
Just and it was just her video or her phone, and that garnished the most views. People like that the most. They were able to relate to it, I think. Right.
Well, that's funny. I bet as a marketing person, I bet that surprised you.
Yeah. So it was great to see.
Do you have a Facebook audience that you've drilled down to women 25-44? That's how much income. Have you created a custom audience?
Yeah, not so much on Facebook yet, but just kind of identifying our customers based off of surveys through our consumer. So our consumer today, right now, we focus on non-families, if you will. We think the grocery store has kind of segmented out the non-families. So singles or couples, it's very expensive to go to the grocery store and buy our recipe because you're buying 4 or 5 servings of everything, right? So that's our main customer. Singles are young adults that don't have kids that make the eating decision yet.
That's a massive market that is very weird.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I've noticed, and we just were talking about this on our radio show Weekly Dish, that there's this whole segment of single men that are between the ages of like 28 and 40. So they have enough money that they're not eating pizza anymore, but they're not really cooking. So they are sitting at bars and bar counters all over town. You'll like Spoon and Stable on any given night. There's 4 of these guys, or like at Tilia. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, and they have an interest in food, and they might even be cooks or willing to cook it, but it's just not packaged in a way that makes sense for them. So that's really intuitive that you see that as a market.
Yeah, and then not surprisingly, but a great market for us has been empty nesters. Has been a huge market for us too. Yep. So we'll be looking at introducing a family plan in the future, where kids could really get involved. We've heard from our consumers that when kids actually help cook, they're willing to taste it and they're excited to eat. Right?
That is a huge piece of it, and nobody really has done a meal kit like that.
Yeah, and it won't. More to that is that it's not just going to be 4 servings for 4 people or whatever. It's going to be interactive for the kids, so it's going to help them learn about this ingredient or like this technique or something like that.
Okay, I'd give you money for that because nobody's doing that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Certain steps will be colorful for them.
Because they're already engaged by what you're doing because it's kind of cool, and you're like chopping and you're the noises and the smells and all the sensory stuff. So we're really going to tap into like what are those steps specific for kids that they can do.
And as you talk about educating consumers and kids and having a local food system that people can get their mind around, if you can start it young, I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yes, it definitely does.
Okay, so that's all really cool. So as we're moving forward, tell me about like some piece of the business that you're just like, wow, we're not really hitting it on all cylinders here. We need to get some focus over here. What is that?
Well, digital marketing, like you mentioned, right? We're starting to get our arms around that and really focus on that. We've made some great hires and really excited to focus on that piece.
Because it is expensive to A, do it, B, have the person that knows what they're doing, because otherwise you just burn through so much money on the mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many rabbit holes you could go down, and there's so many different areas you could advertise, right?
Yep.
Or promote. So we're excited to go down that path.
All right. Well, it has been very exciting to talk to you. I am hoping that this all, if you've got your funding, do you get like the money right away? How does that work?
Yeah, once you close, everyone has to send in their money essentially, right? And sign the documents. So that all came through. Yep.
And so you've got the money in hand now. Do you have the plan of how to spend it? And then do you okay, a year from now we're going to evaluate it, or?
Yeah, we're evaluating every week, right? But yeah, definitely. What is that strategy moving forward? How do we expand? What does retail look like? So we're excited for it.
Are you still you're the chef, and I just am curious how often you're actually cooking, because you start out doing what you love and then you end up doing all these other things.
Not as much as when we started the company.
Yeah, and you're not driving around in your snowsuit anymore.
No, have a new car, different car, not a new car, but different, that has heat.
And have you guys paid yourselves yet?
We just started.
And so that was 2.5 years in?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a big sacrifice that people forget about when you're talking about families. And did you have a family or working spouses or?
Yeah, families of support.
Families, kids. Both of us have kids.
It's tough, but you have a vision and you believe in that vision and that product, and you go after it.
We both of us have said when we decided to make the leap, it didn't really feel that risky. We knew it was a risk, but the plan was pretty solid. And it still is to this day.
Didn't you ever, though, feel just like a total deadbeat? Oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to go. Didn't you have any self-doubt?
I think it creeps in.
Yeah.
It could creep in, but it doesn't last long at all, right? At least for us, it hasn't. Again, we've put everything towards it, and we felt very confident.
You just identified something that I think people that have listened to a lot of episodes of this podcast, and I was married to a person like you, that just complete buy-in of that I'm doing this. I'm going to make this successful. I'm going to sacrifice a lot. My family's going to sacrifice a lot, but I am committed, and I am just doing this. I don't have that. And when I hear it in you, I've heard it in my spouse. We owned a business and he started it. I have heard it. I've heard it in Aaron. It's like that thing, that just single solitary vision and focus and laser to go for it and to not waver is really the hallmark of the entrepreneurs, I think, that make it. Yeah. And you sacrifice a lot in that singular vision. It becomes sort of selfish at times. But good for you. I hear it in your voice, and I have no question that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There's been, if you don't have that, I feel like there's been times where we could have went a different path.
Yeah.
And since we believe in it and we're confident in it, that we haven't, right?
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you
Good luck.
Thanks.
I'm starting a new thing, and I'll just be the first to tell you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm 86 episodes in, and so I've been podcasting now for about a year and a half. And some of these companies have changed so much. Like if I would have talked to you a year and a half ago, think how much your story would have changed.
Yeah.
So throughout the next year, I'm going to be checking in with people that I've podcasted and doing some 15-minute sort of phone updates. So I'm going to check in with you guys in about 6 months from now.
Okay.
We'll do a little phone update and see how you're coming. In the meantime, thanks for coming in. It's been great.
Sounds good. Thank you.